All right. How's it going, Charlie?
Good, Maxance. How are you?
I'm doing very good. Thank you so much for doing this.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So how fun is it to play the show's main villain and also one who changes appearances from season to
It's
season, I guess?
yeah, it's kind of like an actor's dream, right? We get particularly this early in my career, I didn't think I'd get a role like this, in my wildest dreams. And it's fun to, to be able to, when you train, when I was training as an actor, you get this toolbox of things you can do, and you leave thinking, well, am I ever going to get to use a lot of these transformation character tools that I've been given? Because am I just, particularly when you're a young actor, you just get cast as like a young guy. And yeah, to get a character which is this transformative, which is what I love about acting, it's awesome. It's really, really, really cool.
And Sauron is a very familiar character, not only in the books, but in the movies, and even people who aren't necessarily familiar with Lord of the Rings may know who he is. And
Mm.
in this show, you have, I think, the opportunity for the first time on screen to develop the antagonist on a deeply psychological level, which is something none of us have seen before. How do you approach that responsibility of playing a character like this for the series?
I think you have to approach it like with from the perspective of what was written about him, right? Particularly with this show, we're doing the second age of Middle Earth, which is there's a lot written about it, but there's also a lot not written about it. And there are these major events which you have to join together. And that's part of the challenge that the show has. But within that, Sauron's journey is, I'm pretty lucky that most of what is written in the Second Age is about Sauron's journey. So we have these sort of major points things that he goes through. And then, well, if you combine that with everything that Tolkien said about Sauron and in his letters and his intentions for Sauron, you get a pretty detailed character description, as well as everything that he does in the trilogy and in all the other Lord of the Rings books. I mean, there's so much stuff. So it builds a pretty that's kind of the core of the character for me. It's just reading as much and trying to put it into action in this show.
I think the main reason why I love this season the most was the whole arc that Kellbimbbor has with Anatar. How close did you work with Charles Edwards and sort of developing this on-screen relationship that Anatar would have with Kellbimbbor?
Really close, really closely. We spent so much time together developing it and working together, and we knew that it was kind of the make or break part of the season because it's an arc that so many people that know this time period uh, have been waiting to see, right? The downfall of Celebrimbor and the death of Celebrimbor ultimately. And it's famous amongst people that are fans of Lord of the Rings. So we wanted to get that right. But also we wanted to create something that was interesting for people that have no idea about the lore and just want to watch a good piece of television of two characters psychological interplay and really fun. Just it was just really fun to make. We worked a lot together.
Did you want to portray Anatar differently than Halbran, or was there anything that you sort of wanted to keep from Sauron's previous incarnation into Anatar?
Yeah, a bit of both. I wanted to make him. I originally started wanting to make him completely different. I was like, well, Anatar, it'd be a cool thing as an actor to play a character that shares nothing with another character. But then the further through I got, I realized they actually need to share more. Um, the further through I got, sort of in the rehearsal process. Psychologically, they're still the same character, so they're still seeking the same things. They're just at a different point in the journey. Physically, I decided to move differently and vocally change the voice a bit, but not as vocally. Like I was like, I'm going to do a completely different accent and a completely different pitch of voice. But the further we got rehearsing, we realized that I should bring it back to sort of a deeper pitch, a more sort of natural pitch for me, and that helped kind of unlock the character. Yeah.
I actually just spoke to Charles not long ago, and he discussed how the scenes that he had with you as Celebrimbor were shot chronologically, or almost
Yeah.
chronologically. Does that help you as an actor in shooting those scenes in chronological order? Because the dramatic tension that you guys have certainly intensifies as the episodes progress.
Exactly. And it's always helpful to shoot chronologically, but I think for this particular example, it was really helpful because he's kind of unraveling, and I am helping him unravel, kind of pushing him towards the edge of the cliff and then eventually off the cliff. So it was really helpful to sort of play it out step by step and develop the relationship in order. It made such a difference.
You know, for the bulk of the season, you're in, you know, the forge with Celebrimbor, sort of manipulating him into creating corrupted rings. And I think what's interesting about it is we can see how clearly human and vulnerable Celebrimbor is, and how we also understand why he would want to continue creating power over flesh. And I'm wondering
Yeah.
if that's something that you wanted to approach as well with your character, and sort of tapping into Celebrimbor's vulnerabilities, especially when he begins to suspect that perhaps Anatar may not be who he says he is.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly that. I mean, I wanted to tap into, it's kind of like, and that's why it was this particular thing was really well written, because it was like Celebrimbor has this sense of hubris, right? Like this arrogance that like I'm the best, I'm the greatest of elven smiths. It's like I can, and I think Sauron identifies that and is like, well, how great are you? There's this one thing that like I've never been able to achieve. With your help, I can achieve it. So I think in him recognizing this vulnerability that he has, which he sees sort of at the end of the first season, he can sort of use that. He uses Celebrimbor's vulnerabilities to help himself. And I think that was really well done. Yeah.
What I particularly like about your portrayal of Sauron, especially in this season, is how nuanced of an antagonist he is. Like he can, you know, you could have played him just being pure evil, but you know, he's got reasons for wanting to do what he's doing, and that makes him particularly compelling, especially when he confronts Celebrimbor and in the finale, of course, Galadriel. I'm wondering if that's important to, you know, for you to give these nuances to the character as much as you can, so that the audience may also understand where he's coming from in a way.
Yeah, I think that is important, and it's a fine line, because like it's a big trend, right? Everyone since Breaking Bad or The Sopranos or whatever, you know, you have these antagonists, and everyone wants to kind of be on their team, and you understand them, and it's tricky when you, on the surface of it, you're like Sauron. Well, I think doesn't get more evil than Sauron, right? He is the epitome of evil. So I didn't want to kind of make him a sensitive new age villain for the sake of it. I wanted him, it all had to be rooted in what Tolkien said about him. And what I was really surprised when I was learning more about Lord of the Rings, since I got that, was how three-dimensional the character is. It's incredible, because you know, he's doing everything for a purpose and a goal, and that's what the show is really good. It brings out this part of him where he wants to do good. He wants to do good for Middle Earth, and I think that's where you kind of see the humanity of him, even though he's not human. But he's written by a human, you know?
I mean, there is a specific moment in the finale when you kill Celebrimbor where Sauron, you know, actually sheds a tear, and that's a very strong moment. A little that deepens our understanding of the character a little bit more, because he might have felt like this could have been done differently, and you know, basically Celebrimbor was taunting him into killing him. I guess, is that something that you
Exactly.
wanted to approach as well?
Yeah, and I didn't. I never had any intention for it to turn out like that, but it just kind of did, and I think it's probably because Celebrimbor has kind of won the war in that moment. You know, he holds the secret to where the nine rings are, as well as a whole bunch of other secrets about ring making. And Sauron gave in and killed him. It was provoked to killing him. He lost control, and that is so un-Sauron. He's about control. So it's kind of like, well, like, what have I become? How have I got to this point? And I've gone so far down the rabbit hole. Is there any sort of coming back? I've lost this guy who has helped me achieve this thing I've been wanting to achieve for so long, and I've just killed him. He defeated me in a way, you know.
You Was there a desire also to sort of push the character to his breaking point in that specific scene?
Yeah, and I think it's cool to see Sauron get to those points occasionally, and it's like what I think is scary about villains is how contained they are, and it's you always know it's the threat of what they might be able to do rather than seeing what they can do. So you have to be really specific in identifying the moments where you see him go to his limit. Because the more you're seeing that, the more desensitized you become to it as an audience, and you're not seeing all this potential that is sort of withheld, which I find scary when I'm watching characters that scare me a bit. It's like, what are they going to do?
And is it a challenge for you? I don't know, as an actor, sort of, I guess, always make sure that your portrayal of the character always stays grounded with as much emotional complexity as possible, regardless of how, big the action may get in a given episode?
Yeah, I think that's always the challenge, right? Is to make it truthful. But what you do is or the way I like to do it is I just try and throw so many things at the wall and see what sticks. Like, have so many ideas in my head going in and different ways of playing it, and try those different ways, and something will connect and feel really truthful. And that's the fun of it, right? That way you don't rehearse it, particularly on camera. Don't rehearse it too much, because then you get those moments that are completely organic, and that's what is the fun stuff to watch, I think, when you're watching TV or film, when you see something and you're like, that actor had no idea that they were going to do that, and that feels really truthful.
And now that you've played the character for 2 seasons now, is there something that you would say was the most rewarding aspect of, I guess, being a part of the series?
Yeah, the whole thing has been incredibly rewarding. It's been just an amazing creative journey. I think the most rewarding thing is I've been really lucky to be working opposite some incredible actors, and that's the thing, is basically each season for me has been like a series of duologues. In the first season, it was with Mordvith, who plays Galadriel, and in the second season, it was with Charlie. And spending so much time with each of them, and they're just amazing people and amazing actors who I've learned a lot from, and that has been, I think, the most rewarding thing for me. Yeah.
All right. Well, it was really great talking today, Charlie, on your
Thanks.
portrayal of Sauron in The Lord of the Rings. Congratulations. This season is absolutely incredible, and your portrayal of the character is just fantastic.
Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. All the
Yeah.
best. Thanks for your
Thank you.
time.
Thank you. Well,
Thank
I
you
wish
so
you
much.
all the best, and hope you have a very good rest of your day.
You too.
Thank you.